Hi there. Welcome to the Ohio Department of Youth Services podcast, The Future in Focus. I'm your host, Chaba Sukost. Thanks for joining me here for episode 4 of our journey through juvenile justice as we continue to explore the many parts that comprise this agency. This edition will largely focus on life for a youth after DYS when they return to the community. That transition from incarceration back to society is known as reentry. It's a timely topic because April is recognized Reentry or Second Chance Month. Joining me is a trio of reentry experts, each with years of experience in the justice system. Bruce Graham is the Bureau Chief of Parole. Bruce, say hello.
Hello.
Carmen Dorman is a Community Engagement Liaison. Carmen.
Yes. Hello.
And lastly, Chris Crine is a Human Services Program Administrator.
Hello, thank you.
So welcome everybody. So we obviously are going to work our way through the different elements of reentry, but before we get into all that, please tell me a little about your backgrounds and the main responsibilities you have here currently at DYS.
I've had a long career with corrections and juvenile justice, dating back to 1996 when I started with DYS as a residential specialist, substance abuse specialist at Freedom Center. And then I became a correction officer shortly and immediately became a social worker for 8 years at our Cuyahoga Hills. And I was a parole officer for 7 years. And then I left and I'm back as community engagement. And what I do here is outward facing the community to ensure that we are represented in the community.
Go ahead, Bruce. All you.
Okay, so I've been in my current position as Bureau Chief of Parole for 3 months. Prior to that, I was in Montgomery County for 22 years. So I started my career as a youth specialist at the detention center, and then I was a supervisor. And then I got a promotion there to a program, a targeted reclaim program started in Montgomery County. I did that for about a couple of years. Then I did operations management at Center for CAS, Adolescent Services, where the DYS female population is housed. And then I was the director at Montgomery County Juvenile Detention Center for 6 years. So a lot of experience for me. In this role, for lack of better words, I'm morale, leadership over the entire Bureau, which includes 300 kids that are out in the community being supervised and about 500 or more kids in the facility. So our main focus is make sure the kids have the support they need outside in the community, make sure the parents and the kids have the support they need while the kids are in the facility, and making sure our staff have the morale they need to do this incredibly tough job.
Yeah, appreciate it, Bruce. Welcome aboard. Chris, last with you.
Yeah, I've been with this state for about 11 years, almost 11 years. I started with Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. I was with them for about 7 years. I worked with the youth as the liaison for Indian River Juvenile Correction Facility for 3 of those. And when this position opened up, I jumped on it as fast as I could and have been here for about 2.5 years. Yeah. So as the Reentry Administrator.
Appreciate it, gang. So DYS has a lot of divisions, a lot of offices, bureaus, each with their respective oversights. Reentry and parole have a significant involvement with each youth, pretty much from when they start to when they exit the facilities as well. Now, when discussing reentry, there's a perception that work starts when a young person is about to get released. In actuality, they're pretty much there from the beginning, the first days at DYS. Bruce, what are all the steps from when the juvenile is sentenced to DYS to when they're released off parole?
It's a lot of steps. I think day one, they come into the DYS facility, and DYS facilities and treatment staff run a battery of assessments to kind of figure out where the kid is at, identify what needs they need while they're there. Of course, they go through their programmatic needs with the facility and things of that nature. On the parole end, we get assigned early on when a kid is in the facility to kind of make sure we have that connection. Since we'll be dealing with the kids in the community, we want to get in on the front end, establish that relationship with the parent and the youth. At some point, kids are scheduled for release reviews for the facilities. They'll meet with the release authority board members just to make sure they're hitting the marks of their treatment plan as identified by the OES and, where they are moderate and high risk. And hopefully they've met those criteria and are released to parole. Once we get to parole, we do our 24-hour check-in with the kid, and we we do contacts. For each kid, based on their parole supervision level, we have to have certain contacts based on the level. So we make those contacts, and one thing that we focus on too is making high quality contacts as well as meeting those standards. At some point, we are connecting and we're working with Reentry. Reentry has been involved while the kids are in the facility to make sure the kids have some transition planning and connection to community services. And then at some point, hopefully, when they get everything and hit all the marks for the court orders, they will go for a discharge review and at some point officially be released from parole.
How long do those stints on parole typically last, or is there a range in terms of when they leave the facility to when they're officially, cleared of their vacation?
You know what, Saba? I wouldn't have the math. It's
Yeah.
definitely out there. I should have been prepared for that.
Oh, no, all good. Yeah.
I'm not sure how long that is.
Oh, no worries. I know obviously it's probably case by case.
Yes, depending on the security level of the youth, it's medium, low, or high. So low is usually 3 to 6 months, medium 6 to 9 months, and then anything over is a year or more on parole.
Appreciate it, Carmen. So now that we have a big picture of reentry, the next question will focus more on the specifics of being released back into the community, as you referred to there, Bruce. Carmen, we'll go to this one for you, since you're always bouncing around the state, connecting with youth and other people out in the community and their organizations as part of that transition. What do these young people need when they're released on parole, and what are some of the obstacles they face when they're back in the community?
Every youth have their own transitional plan, like Bruce spoke about, and based on their needs. Every youth is different, and based on whatever their team feel that they need to be successful in the community. It can be from housing, it can be from treatment, it can be mental health, whatever services. The team try to wrap their arms around that youth so they can have a smooth transition and all of their needs are being met. So that's the goal, is making sure that their needs are being met when they hit the community. And so there is no delay. They want to make sure that every referral is completed, making sure that this youth is connected with the community as they transition back into the community.
Chris, any thoughts you want to add to that? Just, I know you're intricately involved in other aspects of it in terms of their involvement and whatnot.
Yeah, I think when we think about obstacles and things along that line, I think the kids, especially when they've been with us for so long, they lose the soft skills, how to, even just some of the simple things, going to a job interview, being prepared what they need to do. And we have definitely done a better job at preparing them for that. But we really just we want to wrap, like she said, wrap arms around the kids to make sure that they have what they need and that we have a solid plan that they agree with. Because if they don't agree with it, then things can go a little sideways.
Obviously, so kind of transitioned there in terms of from the outside, the inside. Chris, we'll pivot back to you for this one right here. So you're involved with a mix of programs, for the youth on the inside in terms of the juvenile correctional facilities, and then also making that pivot to the outside as well. When looking at those in DYS custody, the stats say the average stay for a youth is about 17 months. Average age is just under 18. Now, what's being emphasized or offered at the facilities to help with the habilitation of these young men?
So to kind of piggyback what Bruce was saying, the assessments are done to kind of determine what the level of need of treatment could be. So they definitely get we call Core A, Core B, so looking at emotional regulation, cognitive behavioral therapy. The purpose of it is that the habilitation piece is trying to change some of that thinking. So there's also their court-ordered treatment that their judge may have ordered for them as well. Right now, we've really been emphasizing heavily on the workforce development, especially with the BUILD program that is now with our grads, our high school graduates. But we've really been just trying to look more, getting to simplicity of that emotional regulation, financial education, how to apply for a job, just that career exploration piece we've really been putting more emphasis on right now.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of it just basically that idea of being independent in many respects.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So largest scale events, which you kind of led into a little bit right there, referring to BUILD, and kind of the offshoot with that is our reentry fairs. They happen about two, 3 times a year, if I'm not mistaken. Dozens of community partners come in there. They show the kids in high school and those who graduate already what opportunities are out there to them in the community upon their release. Carmen, Chris, you're always in attendance at these, trying to help and kind of highlight what all is out there for these kids. So who from the community is taking part of these events? And when you're talking to these young men, because you're, whether they're just kind of as a support, Carmen, or whether they're as a vendor, so to speak, Chris, what are you trying to have these kids take away from the opportunity and the experience and just knowing what's available to them?
All 3 facilities do a fantastic job with their reentry fairs and really trying to bring in people from all over the state, because we have kids from all over the state. Indian River, they just had a fantastic turnout. So We had the courts there from Mahoning County, Cuyahoga County. We had community partners through our comprehensive case management employment programs, jobs and family services, DYS staff. We had 29 community partners come this year, so it was really amazing. And we really stressed to the kids the importance of meeting with whoever that community partner is in their area, so that they know who that contact person is. They know who they can reach out to while they're at the facility, and who's going to be their support when they get in the community to make sure that they have what they need. So it's not just about the meeting part of it, it's the kids advocating for themselves and that in person, in front of somebody, that networking piece that we're trying to get them to build with those social skills too.
Right. And it's so important. It's so important for our community to understand that these are not throwaway kids. These are young people who have an opportunity to change, to be rehabilitated and make better choices. And so if we have the community understanding of who our youth are and who they're coming home to, what they're going to do when they come home, their support is necessary because we know that they're going back into their communities. And so some of the big topics we try to really hit on is education, mental health, housing, transportation, things that we know are real life experiences for most people. And so those are services that are just the needs of basic people. And so we want to make sure that our young people has a goal as they transition to the community.
Yeah, the thing I love about these, I know, Chris, you're talking about Indian River. I've been to the Cuyahoga Hills one a couple times, and I think the most recent one, they had like 50 or 60 vendors in terms of the involvement right there. It's just, it's astonishing. And the thing that's great about those, I know, just think of being out in the community and trying to figure out things for yourself. You've got anything from, I know a lot of times these kids need maybe some resolution with ID or transportation. You said, their license and whatnot, housing, just to have that all on you to go out there. I can imagine how unbelievably overwhelming that is to not even know where to start. The fact that we have these things set up there, it's basically just putting all of it on the community to help these kids step by step by step. I saw so many of these like warm handoffs, as they call them, where they're basically one person passing along the youth to another person to get them to bridge that gap, so to speak. Whether it's something they can provide directly, but if they can't do it, they know there's somebody there on site as well to be able to give them the help that they need. And it's just a remarkable achievement. I know there's been so many developments of that recently, where so many more employers are there. So I know the biggest hurdle for a lot of these kids coming out is, they're graduated, they don't know what to do. They have these situations set up now where they're basically walking out the door with a job now, and it's awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah. Cuyahoga Hills has done a fantastic job with getting like union partners, masonry, carpentry, and things along those lines, and kids are interviewing that day. So it's been very rewarding to see, and to kind of piggyback what Carmen was saying, it's not just educating our kids, but we're educating the community as well. These are people that need our help.
Yeah. And what's so important about reentry is that, the Maslow hierarchy of understanding that everyone needs their needs met, the basic needs. Yeah. And I think with reentry, we're trying to do a good job at the base is making sure that these young people's needs are being met when they're walking out the institution.
Yeah, in terms of, going back to that idea of, having that purpose, having that drive to get you out there once you're out the door. I know for school, we're preaching education a lot, but a lot of these kids, they're not suited for the classroom. It just doesn't mesh with them in terms of their interest, because they want to be more hands-on. They want to be more critical thinking in terms of working their way through problems. So I know the trades have been a huge thing for us in terms of trying to get these kids to realize that, one, they can basically get paid while they're on the job, because a lot of these things are teaching these kids these skills while they're getting paid to do it, and it gives them that path, because I know obviously there's this shortage within the state, to realize that they can make a lot of money really quickly. And I know every kid I've talked to, in terms of what they want to do when they get out there, it's always about taking care of mom, taking care of grandma, somebody, because they know full well that they want to take care of people once they go out there. So yeah, go ahead, Bruce. Yeah, Jeff.
Because Carmen said about the rehabilitation piece, and we were at this conference, National Returning Citizens, which was a reentry event. And one of the panel members, he made a profound statement that stuck with me when he was saying, we are talking about rehabilitating people, right? But a good deal of our kids have not even had the habilitation. So it's hard to say we are rehabilitating some of these kids when they haven't had the first step of the process. So that was kind of profound to me and had me thinking about things in a different light when I heard that.
Yeah, I know that's one thing Director Ass has preached in terms of our approach here, because these kids this is their first time through the system in that sense, and the idea of like not knowing, a lot of the wrongs they've committed, that they were wrong, or the understanding the wrongs, why they were wrong ultimately in terms of what they're doing. So getting at that front end to make sure that obviously they don't graduate to the adult system that way. Okay, so a big part of community reentry is that connection to the community after when they get out. Community service, typically a big part of a young person's parole, as you guys know. And there's a reason for that. Carmen, you're a former parole officer, as you alluded to. Bruce, yourself as well, with plenty of experience in your previous roles in Montgomery County. So what do you all expose to these young men when they're involved in community service, and what are you trying to get them to see and feel when they're giving back to others?
Well, I tell you, community service has really grown from when I was a parole officer. I love the fact that we're trying to make it more hands-on, so you can be in the face of the community, so that you can see that one-on-one interaction of how you affect other people. And so when you're doing community service, this is an opportunity be empathetic. And so they can understand how what they might have done could affect other people. And what I'm learning, I do a lot of community service events with the agency, with the parole and our reentry. And what I see all the time is, these young people, the face-to-face connection is so valuable of how they benefit from what we're trying to do for them. And that is putting them in front of people who they may not understand why we're doing it, but they have the opportunity to be in front of them and engage, and for them to have empathy. And that's what's important, for them to understand that what you are doing and how it affects. And most of our kids, they love doing community service. And like I said, it has grown so much to just the basic, going to a food pantry and just doing something real simple versus participating and seeing the fruits of your labor. So it's definitely a bonus to see them face to face with the community.
Bruce, any added thoughts there?
She said it beautifully. I agree wholeheartedly. It's the restorative justice approach. I think a good deal of our kids have either been victimized or victimizers in their neighborhood. So if we can get them involved with events in their community to get them to see a different frame of reference as being a part of a community and not taking from it, but enhancing it, I think that's always great. For me personally, too, it's about free time as well. Some kids may have community service, some may not. As a parole, our philosophy is community service on the table or not, we want to engage kids in these events from a free time approach as well. Idle hands are the devil's playground. So as much
I can relate
interaction
to that, yeah.
we can get kids out of their situation and the different things, that's always a positive for us as well.
I agree. And kind of to flip what you said, Carmen, in terms of the idea of that one-on-one contact with people and that empathy. But the thing I also like, and maybe might get overlooked at times, is the fact that, a lot of times these kids are just going around their day-to-day lives where they're not being seen, heard, recognized, and then when they're able to not only for themselves see the impact that they're having on other people, but then also get a sense that they are a fabric of something bigger beyond themselves, and that they can contribute in a number of ways that a lot of times they probably didn't even know was possible in that way. So,
absolutely.
Okay, so just like the podcast, Building Momentum, so are all of you in your respective roles and branches. We've set a foundation to do more in 2024. Now it's time to thrive in 2025. It's part of a agency-wide mantra. So what are you guys hoping to build on individually or collectively to a larger scale this year?
Well, I think for parole for us is we want to treat our kids not the same, but equitably. But we are trying to focus in on our higher risk kids. When kids come out of the facility, they are automatically very high kids because, of course, they've been in a locked environment. So we want to make sure that we keep eyes on them, quality case contacts, quantity case contacts. So we're kind of zoning in on that. We are also zoning in on the Cuyahoga region because, as you all know, Cuyahoga represents at any point 30 to 33% of our population. So we are doing some things with Reentry Court in Cuyahoga. We're doing some things with Project Lift, which is a wraparound services that has a federal grant for our kids. So our ultimate goal is to have every kid out of Cuyahoga County participating in this wraparound services with Ms. Logan and Project Lift. Personally, in my bureau, I want to work on staff morale. We forget about this sometimes because we have a lot of people working this. Sometimes it's a thankless job out here doing things, and they build relationship with kids and things happen, and We just want to make sure that we continue to encourage them and give them kudos and recognize them and keep them motivated, because even that affects outcomes for our kids as well if we recognize and keep our staff motivated. So that's some of the things we're working on in 25.
And employee recognition, obviously a very big deal in terms of what we're trying to preach all throughout at all levels, because, we're a cohesive ecosystem in the sense where, directly or indirectly, all kind of, play off each other in terms of what we're doing and whatnot. So, Chris, go to you.
I mean, it's already April, and in 25, we're already, I feel like we're just killing it, honestly. I mean, the BUILD program is underway for our graduates.
Talk about that a little bit there.
So the BUILD program is the Buckeye United Industrial Leadership Development Program.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And it has been a huge project, started and headed by Dr. Jordan Argus, and has been passed down to the facility. So all of our graduates are now currently doing it. And with part of the BUILD program, they do zones of regulation to help learn how to regulate their emotions, work through their problems in a healthy way. There's financial literacy. And then there is also Reentry Essentials, which kind of gets back to basics. So resume writing, how to conduct yourself, phone etiquette. I mean, it covers everything. It's 8-week program. So just in the first phase itself. There's also an OMJ piece to it. So the kids are learning about career exploration, job development, resume writing, things along those lines. And then they have a capstone project that they are working on. And the hope is when we talk to the kids about the capstone project, we really want them to pick something that they believe in will bring change to the facility that they're at in a healthy way. So whatever that may be, I haven't heard of what any of those projects are right now.
Still early,
but it has been early. Yeah. So that has been huge, and kudos to the facilities, because it's been a big project and a lot of moving parts, with a lot of support from the staff. So they've done a fantastic job. And then there's also, I mean, I have to give a shout out to our colleague, Larry Simpson. He's developed the relationship with the Trade Institute and the Emerge program. So next month we have our first 2 young men graduating with their HVAC certification. They're currently in apprenticeships right now, working with a company down in Xenia. So our next 2 young men, we have one from Circleville and one from Indian River. They started last week. So they're also doing the HVAC program. So that has been a very exciting partnership that Larry has taken under his wing and developed. So we have that, plus all of our other programming that we're still continuing to do. So True Freedom Ministries, Effective Leadership Academy, Getting Ahead While Getting Out. These are all programs that carry out into the community, and they continue to work with them when they get home. So, and that's huge. So because getting those relationships established while they're here, they're comfortable with talking to them when they get home.
Just that continuity and just that comfort in terms of easing that transition as much as we can.
So yeah, and also, I mean, the events, I mean, Carmen's been killing it. Yeah. She's been absolutely amazing with these events that she's finding and getting really creative ways for kids to get their community service. So we just had the tree planting one. That was a few weeks ago, and we had some kids came up, to plant some trees with Mr. Simpson, and they really enjoyed it. So it's, when you say community service, the kids are like, oh.
Sure. Yeah, they have a very limited scope of what that means.
Right. Yeah. But a lot of it is we've been very fortunate in making it somewhat fun and interactive. So again, Carmen and just the reentry team itself, we've done a great job in just trying to be creative for the families and for the kids on parole, and yeah. So yeah, we've just been knocking it out. So I'm excited to hear about the rest of the year.
Lastly, with the queen of creativity over here.
Yeah, 2025 is the continuum of our young people trying to do better. And for me, I'll be doing a new position working with the families. And working with the families is so important. And sometimes we forget about the family. Yeah. And we're sending these kids back home to the family. And sometimes they haven't gotten their stuff together. And we're sending our kids home. So the hope is to be able to massage that relationship with the parents and bridge the gap and let them know that we support them too. It's not just the kids, because when the parent is okay, the kid is okay. Sure. Yeah. And so the goal is in 2025 is start the parent orientation, in which I will work with the parents and walking beside with those parents and letting them understand that they are just as important as the parole officer, the judge, and everybody else. And so I think when we get the parents involved and the kids, it's going to follow afterwards. So, and it's the same thing with the hierarchy for the parents, making sure that they're okay. Mm-hmm. Making sure their needs are okay, because we want to bring those kids back to a safe environment.
Yeah, the beauty of what you're talking about is just you're giving these people these foundations, these avenues, these resources, but what we're trying to do ultimately is just empower them.
Empower them.
Give them the whatever they need to be able to take care of themselves, take care of each other. And
absolutely. Walk with them,
yes,
hand in hand, to make their kids successful.
Agreed. Bruce, Carmen, Chris, thank you all very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Coming up on the next episode, we'll sit down with the people who oversee these programs as we discussed inside some of our facilities. Chris Freeman, the Deputy Director of Facilities Programs and Operations and Frontline Workers at DYS, will discuss the work that goes into operating a facility and the different means to connect with young people to aid in their transformations. Be sure to subscribe to the Future in Focus podcast and let others know about it too. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or watch our video recording on the Ohio DYS YouTube channel. Thanks for listening and watching. We look forward to having you with us for our journey through juvenile justice here at DYS.